All right, so Rocket Mortgage Classic. Who do you think won?
Ricky Fowler, right? I mean, I think that was the rule. I think that's why they created it.
Did he play? Was he in the field?
Is that wrong?
That is wrong. Nate Lashley won, and not just won, but dominated, and just a hell of a cool story. So this guy needs to send an immediate thank you card to David Berganio, because David withdrew, which allowed Nate to get in on Wednesday. So pretty cool. And he was an alternate and found his way in the tournament, like I said, on Wednesday. And for those of you that don't know, bad, just crazy, awful story, right? So Nate was a good college golfer, and his parents and girlfriend on a trip to watch him play in a regional tournament in college had a plane crash and all died. And so obviously he struggled for some time to get back into golf in a professional way, and was even, flipping houses for a while. But he found his way back, and he found his way into the winner's circle. And the whole story behind the plane crash could be an entire episode of No Putts Given. But if that's something you're interested in looking into, I'd recommend checking out a story in 2017 by Jason Sobel through ESPN magazine and online. It's a great story and much better than we could do for it today. But like I said, just a really cool story, and you don't see these happen all the time. It's usually a big name, big time professional golfer that everybody's heard of. So pretty cool to see,
like Ricky
right?
Fowler?
Yeah.
It's kind of got to be like fate, right?
I mean, if that's something you believe in. I mean,
David Berganio drops out, and then Nate gets in.
Did he even get a practice round?
He actually failed to qualify on the Monday qualifier, correct?
It would have been the guy. I believe he's the guy that just didn't make it in. So to be the
first alternate,
right?
Yeah, third alternate. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So he got in anyway on Wednesday, which is just crazy cool, because think about it, right? A lot of guys go out the week before, 2 weeks before, sometimes a big tournament prep. This guy really didn't prep any and just, lit it up from day one. I think he was the leader pretty much from, end to end, right? Wire to wire.
We were talking about that on the ride over. How many birdies did he have?
I think it was 28 birdies and 3 bogeys.
That's a year's worth for me.
And I think he had.
And that's being generous. I was going to say that's being generous for you.
I think he went like 32, 36 holes without a bogey at that time.
Yeah. So just a cool story. You don't get a lot of those during the year.
Teach me how to do that.
He's going to the Open.
That is true.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Good for him. That's cool.
Yep. And so he moved up to, I think, 40th in FedEx rankings. And, not a super long guy off the tee. Ranks in the top, I think, 50 for distance.
Okay.
But strokes gain wise, killed it this tournament. And in regards to what's in his bag and what he played, ping, 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 Ventus. So full. There goes Tony with the Ventus hat. So
Ventus.
Yeah, we got a full staff of Ventus players here, and
I got all the Venti.
Hey, do you wanna send one of those over to me?
You're playing
mine
Ventus.
are going to be probably too light and definitely too soft for you, Harry.
All right. Well, I need to get one of those in my 3-wood because I love the.
Yeah, well, I don't have anything for a 125-ish swing speed here.
Okay.
Maybe you could ask Nate to send you one.
So
6X tipped an inch.
Yes, in the driver, he's playing the Ping G410 LST with Fujikura Ventus, and I think that's what's in the bag of our own Sam Robinson this week at the Waffle House Jesus Memorial Tournament we had this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Is that a real thing?
That is
now it is.
Dude.
We're gonna get you down for it next year.
We have the trophy and everything, man.
Yeah, that trophy is something to
the
look
Titleist
at.
guys. We'll cover the Titleist visit here in a minute, but they were genuinely amused by the fact that I don't know how many years have we had that facility open now down in Virginia, and I've never been there.
Yeah.
Blows their mind.
Yeah, blows mine too every day.
That's just how good a job Sam and Harry do. I don't need to.
Wow, don't flatter me.
Yeah, that's definitely not the case because we send all of our stuff up to you in New York.
Well, anyway, bag of 400, G410 driver, G410 LST 3-wood. The most interesting thing that I saw was that it's a product that no one has really seen yet.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a 60-degree Ping Glide 3.0. So, Matt, if you could pull that up for everybody to see, all you old heads out there that remember the Ping i2s, that is the inspiration for the new Ping Glide 3.0.
Those have not come out yet.
Those have not come out
We
yet.
just got the pictures last week, right?
So we're already winning on tour with Glide 3.0 wedges, and they haven't even come out yet. Well,
Yeah,
it's like bring back the plate.
I think they call that tour proven, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at this. Do you remember? So in the hill, it just goes. It's pretty much like square, and then it just goes straight up for the hill of the hosel.
It's very similar to, you see a lot of it now, like with Callaway and TaylorMade, and now Wilson has a prototype. It's got a high toe,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's the OG right there. Or that's a new one. That's the Ping Glide 3.0. That looks like the old i2.
And with the ISole too, I would assume they're still you can see it right there in that photo. Do a little bit of narrowing of the hosel, right? So kind of really thin out that hosel to help it get through the sand a little bit easier.
It's like cheating.
What do we know about it? Do we know where the weight is? Is the weight pretty much predominantly on the toe, or is it tucked away somewhere else?
I don't have any direct info, but usually what you do is, when you have a design like this where you're putting mass where you don't necessarily want it in the toe, for example, you generally do something in the hosel to kind of bring it back closer to the middle. Not everybody does it well, but that's going to be the design goal for sure. It's certainly not to have your center of gravity way out on the toe. You want to be able to hit it on a full swing and hit it well. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure that's going to bring back some memories from people. The Ping i2s were like the bee's knees back in the day. There's people that still play them.
Dude, I remember hitting those bad boys when I was 12 years old.
People don't get rid of those.
I know it.
Hold on to them.
I've got one of the guys I play with has one leg and I believe 2 ISO wedges. So
got more isoles than legs. So next to the cool stories of equipment, I think, or one of the cooler ones you'll hear in a long time, is Steve Stricker won the U.S. Senior Open with a set of 13-year-old irons. Titleist 755s. Really cool story about that, too, is that he kept them. These guys get a lot of clubs, right, for free from their sponsor. And he's had lots of Titleist irons since then. And for whatever reason, he won with these 13 years ago and kept them around because he liked them.
That's when I started playing golf 13 years ago. That was the first time I picked up a club.
What was your first club, Sam?
Some knockoff Tommy Armour. What are they called?
Silver Scots?
Yeah, but they were fake.
Yeah.
So
the Sammy Scotts?
Yeah, Sammy Scott's full size. I was about 5'1", playing full size irons.
So he's grown an inch or two since then.
Yes, 2 inches actually.
And 3 pounds.
About that.
A little more hair on my face, and 3 pounds, 2 inches. So.
Well, I think Sam had as many birdies as Nate Lashley this weekend, though. So he turned it around and figured out how many birdies you have in the front 9.
6.
Yeah, killed it. Anyway.
That's
back to Steve Stricker and these irons, right? So he pulled them back out a few weeks ago, I guess, and obviously it's paying dividends pretty quickly. He played great in the last tournament and then just won in dominant fashion, right? So it brings me to kind of a bigger question. And Harry, I'll ask you first. Have you ever kind of brought something back from the past that you had success with, and wondered why you ever got rid of that old thing?
The closest thing I can relate to is when I was back in my bachelor days, going back to a crazy.
I don't like where this is headed.
Going back to you always had that real crazy ex, but she was fun. That's my G400 LST. That's my G400 LST right there.
Yeah, so you went away from the G400 LST and went to what?
The PXG.
And now you're back to the LST.
I'm back to the LST.
And every damn time I turned around on Friday, you were 20 yards off the green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was annoying.
I can help it.
That was really annoying.
I was hitting it pretty well.
Yeah, we were smashing drives.
I played Thursday, and I was 20 yards off the green, too, on
par
every
threes?
third or fourth shot. So I know what Harry's talking about.
But yeah, that's it. I had to go back because my PXG was messing up, so I had to put it on a naughty step. It's facing the wall right now. It's in timeout. It's facing the wall.
Don't you have like a Nike Sumo like 3-wood or something?
Dude, that was awesome.
It's in the storage bag.
But you pull it out still.
I don't know. I kind of want to get a new shaft for it because, man, I played that thing through high school, through college, and that was like my go-to fairway finder, second shot into par fives. I mean,
can I give you a piece of shaft advice for that particular club?
Ventus?
No, I was actually going to say just don't do that.
Oh,
don't do it?
Yeah, don't do
Why?
it.
See, you're all about new and tinkering, and Sam's over here hitting fairways in regulation with a 10-year-old Sumo.
Yeah, but you can hit fairways with something that's newer and doesn't sound like.
But Tiger Woods played this for so long.
But let me ask you this, Tony. Do you find fairways with your new clubs?
Some of them.
Yeah. and you are the smartest person out there.
Harry, I need you to clarify though. The fairway I'm aiming at, or just do like adjacent fairways count?
In my game, it's whatever fairway you hit is a GUR, is a GUR.
Yeah, here my thinking here is
fairway in regulation.
If I hit the ball off the tee, and I get to hit that same ball again without doing that kind of bend over, take a really awkward drop thing, it's good.
Hey,
good shot.
We got you covered, man. Harry's been testing those ball retrievers.
Oh yeah, dude.
We'll send you one.
You won't have to climb under the bush anymore. You can just stick the thing in there.
What's
and
the
get
best ball retriever, Harry, for everyone out there?
Well, last year,
yeah,
it was the. Why am I drawing a blank? Bag
because
boys.
The ball retriever
I got you.
no one cares.
I got you.
That's not true.
Yeah, I got you, dude. You save so much money if you pick out your ball.
Why?
300.
You know
300
you don't
million.
Want to be playing found balls.
Hey, when Tony gets off this
that.
podcast today, he's going straight to Bag Boy. I got you on Amazon.
Yeah, he is. He's gonna say 300 million balls were made every year in USA.
They were lost.
If you put a head cover on it, they'll never know it's a ball retriever.
Ooh, that's what you should do. Put like a Cortex or a ping on a Cortex.
Yeah, like a hybrid head cover. They'd never know.
All right. Well, next is a what we call a shot of the truth. And today we are going to cover needle movers in golf. And today we're going to go over Steph Curry versus Jordan Spieth. So for you guys and girls out there that did not see it or hear it, Steph Curry came out with his own line of Under Armour golf gear. It's called Range Unlimited. And yeah, I knew that.
I like that.
I knew you were going to. Daddy likey?
Daddy likey.
So, by the way, Steph Curry also just came out with a golf show called Holy Moly. Has anyone seen it?
I haven't even. This is the first time I'm hearing of it.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
What?
So I watched 5 minutes of Holy Moly, which is like basically it's carnival-esque putt-putt. It's hot garbage. I watched 5 minutes and I was like, my God, I would give anything for shot makers to be on right now. So
I mean, is it like 5 minutes of your life you're never ever gonna get back?
It's exponential. Like I feel like I lost 10 for watching 5.
Well, now I want to go and watch it just to see how bad it is.
Go for it.
No.
Holy Moly. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
And Tony's putting it below shot makers for any of you out there that remember that.
Oh my God, yeah. No,
where all right, rank these 3 shows: Driver versus Driver, Shot Makers, and Holy Moly.
What's my scale? Because I feel like it's going to be really difficult to stretch that out where I can put Holy Moly up at an appropriate distance below Shot Makers, which obviously sits at a significant different distance below Driver versus Driver. So
are you saying that because I was on the show?
On a scale of 1 to 10, it's like, -4, 0, and 7.
Oh, Driver
we
versus
got
Driver.
7, dude. Let's go.
Was this better as out of 100 though, dude?
That's where they get you.
No, I mean, look, I think it's probably hard to do a golf-based TV show well. I mean, I think sort of Big Break is probably the bar, right? I think that's one.
Yeah, that's the money.
Golfers actually enjoyed watching.
Something interesting I learned about that, and I didn't know, was I think this could be the change in why you see that. Maybe not. But from what I heard, the Big Break was about coming up with a good concept, right? And producing a cool concept show. And now the majority of the shows have to be sponsored, meaning people exactly. So these shows get pitched to manufacturers or whoever, golf companies, and get sold. So they're already diluted versions and kind of like modern infomercials to some degree. Whereas Big Break was just a killer, survivor with golf.
Good
right?
idea.
It was a great idea,
Expensive,
and it was good
though.
golf. Right? I mean, that's the thing.
What do you
that I
think Big
a lot
Break
of
with
stuff-
bad golf? Like, what if there was like a Big Break for me, where it's just me and other people almost as bad as I
Dude,
am?
I don't
I
think
would
they would
definitely watch
Where
that.
would we rate Holy Moly versus that?
I think.
I would still be better than Holy Moly.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
but I
would be
don't-
pretty entertained to watch Tony Hackett around.
I
for
don't
an
think
hour.
I don't think they would actually get a full
Hey.
episode out because they'll be still out there
There
trying to
was
swing.
There was Hank Haney and Charles Barkley.
Cut.
Now there's Hank Haney and Tony Covey. You think that could happen?
There we go.
What do we call it?
I don't know.
Shit on the
The big
stick.
shank.
Oh my god.
I think that's a good one.
That's
That's
a good
That's a
one, yeah.
catchy line.
Pulled
Everyone's
that
gonna remember
right out of your
that.
ass, man. That was great.
Literally.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, anyway, the bigger question that I have around this is golf seems to have a problem with the cool factor and people moving the needle. Like Tiger was the needle, is the needle, and no one else seems to be able to move the needle in regards to selling equipment, right? So Steph Curry, non-professional golfer, Jordan Spieth, professional golfer, both Under Armour, right? Sponsored. So Steph Curry has 26 million followers on Instagram. Spieth has 1 million plus, right? And let's face it, we're closer to a following similar to Jordan Spieth than Steph Curry,
Right.
at this point,
Yeah.
right? So following aside, do we think that non-professional golfers can move the needle and sell more gear than the actual professional golfers that are sponsored to do this? Like Jordan Spieth, who has his own golf shoe for Under Armour. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah. I think athletes from other sports are probably golf's best chance to gain popularity. Honestly, if we talk about, sort of, in my opinion, where Nike's biggest failure as a golf company was, and to a degree still is, was leveraging that stable of athletes that they have. I think Michael Jordan is probably the prime example of, guys who are golfers who could help make golf look cool to non-golfers. And Nike was never able to do that. They haven't done that, may never do that. And so what gets projected to the public is, from a golf perspective, is more holy moly than cool factor, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Tony, didn't you go to Callaway? Was it the flash reveal where you were the only pretty much golf media there at that time?
Endemic medias were called. Yeah, and Callaway took a little bit different approach, but yeah, it is about trying to, in their case, their brand as much as the sport, sort of be associated with cool. So a lot of influencers like Brody Smith, Eric Anders Lang, some of them sort of from outside the golf world. I mean, the Bachelor was there. We had a former Miss America, Katie Kearney. I mean, long list of people that kind of exist on the periphery of golf. They're not into it the day-to-day like we are. They have, expansive social media followings. And so that's sort of a way to put products in front of a different audience that you don't get, going through traditional golf sites, guys like us, right? That's a reality, right?
And they're reaching a wider array of people than just people who are just golfers. Like people,
I'd like to think we're kind of golf cool, but
Yeah.
that's still not particularly cool. In
Exactly.
the grand scheme of things, we're
I
not
think you're cool,
Steph
Tony.
Curry cool.
I think you're cool.
Well,
Look at that hat.
and yeah, so
Peaky Blinders.
No, I think I mean Steph Curry is definitely way more cool than Jordan Spieth.
Oh,
to
for
more
sure.
people.
I
Name
think
the,
so.
name the coolest golfer.
Brooks
I
Koepka.
think on paper, Ricky Fowler.
I think Brooks Koepka's cooler than Ricky Fowler.
Did you see him jump off that boat in a thong this weekend?
Brooks Koepka?
Dude, you got to look this video up. It's disturbing. I mean,
Was that this
Where
weekend?
was
I feel like
I?
That
I
wasn't.
didn't, I didn't see that.
That was.
I never saw that.
it's a Borat singlet. I mean, it's
Hey,
from the back view, too.
His
I mean,
girl's tired of that golf tan, man.
Hey, very nice.
Oh, man. So, Sam, what do you think? Do you think a non-professional golfer is going to move the needle more than the pro golfer selling gear?
Yeah, I mean, especially in Steph Curry's situation, I don't know if we can speak in general terms of any professional athlete that's not a golfer, but with Steph Curry, he's played a Web.com tour event. He's also a superstar athlete in basketball, but I also think that the average golfer, at least people that know who Steph Curry is, can relate to Steph Curry more than they can
Yeah,
relate
I
to
agree with
Jordan
that.
Spieth in a golf sense.
Well, he's a scratch golfer, if not one or two. So he's like a decent golfer.
Well, what do you mean?
Oh, yeah,
The
solid,
average golfer
sure.
can relate to him because he's got a little more of their game in them.
Yeah, I think so. I think Steph
Amateur
Curry's
status.
closer
Well-
to the average golfer than he is
Well,
to
then let me
Jordan
ask you a
Spieth.
question. Let's say Tony Covey. I mean, that's the average. Like if he started selling gear, would people relate more to that because he's
I
more
don't.
like
I
them?
don't think a line of my hats would do well. For example,
You don't?
No.
Yeah,
but you get what I'm saying. Like
Tony Covey's a superstar in the golf industry, but not in.
But
He's
the
not a
pyramid of
superstar.
influence has always been about people like the really. If you see somebody really good on TV, like a pro winning, you go, man, I could win, right? I've never known gear to be sold because I related. Well, if it's lifestyle, yes, but if it's about performance, no. You know what I mean?
Well, and
Well, I
that's. I,
think-
mean, that's
I
that's
think
what
that's-
it is, though. That's
Well, exactly. I think that's kind of where
That's why he's not
the
selling
trend
clubs.
is moving. Exactly, and I think that's where the trend is moving. Is golf is becoming a more of a, and we're seeing it in the design of products as well with spikeless shoes rising. You know, you can we talk about this in the offs all the time. There's the shoes that you can wear on and off the golf course. This kind of stuff, I would wear that. I mean, maybe not a night out because then I look kind of like a peacock.
Hey, you're peacocking though, dude.
I can tell you what, the
I
pants
know.
that he's as under those, I know you're gonna like.
What
Like,
are they?
They're joggers.
Are they tight?
They're tight.
All right, count me in.
And the little cut-offs as well. I think they're like
And Sam's
Shorter.
been working on.
Oh,
his
extra.
they're
quads.
above. They're above.
I've been
ankle-
working on the quad game, so
They're above ankle bashes.
Your quad
I
game
think
is
they're good.
strong.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I noticed it this weekend.
With my short shorts.
Yes,
very
I brought them out just for
I
Chuck.
thought they were squirts.
You thought I was wearing a skirt?
His game was tight this weekend and his pants, but it was a fun.
Tight
weekend.
pants, tight game, baby. You know
That's
what I'm
I
saying?
mean, it was fun watching it
I
from
threw
behind.
I threw a quarter down in front of him, Sam or Tony, and I said, if you can bend over and pick that up, I'll give you $100 if you don't split your pants.
I didn't try to pick it up.
All right, next up is something new, and every week we're going to have a contest on the No Putts Given episodes, and we'll give the prize away the next week to one randomized or selected winner, depending on what the contest is going to be. So this is called the Most Wanted Challenge, and what that is simple. The Most Wanted seal is what we give away to the winners of our categorical equipment tests, whether it be a driver, iron, wedge, putter, shoe, whatever. They get a seal. And as you can see on the screen, this was at a PGA show booth and all kinds of brands. You're seeing them in commercials with Srixon and Nikon. You're seeing them at retail with what's called POP displays or conventions and trade shows. Harry, there was even one from your country, I think, an Under Armour shoe. Matt, do you have that to put up? There it is.
Yeah, he sent me that picture and said, "This is pretty cool."
Damn,
'Cause
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's reaching over into the motherland.
Yeah, so it's reaching all over the place, even your homeland. And so what we want to do is have everyone out there go out there and either try to find it in your retail store, try to find it online somewhere, and just post it on social media. Take a quick picture and post on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Tag mygolfspy and hashtag Most Wanted Challenge. And next week, we'll pick a winner and we'll send out a ball marker that we have that's all 100% milled from the U.S. Open for Pebble Beach with a laser scanned replica of the Jack Nicklaus 1-iron. And that's what we're going to do for this week. So don't forget to tag mygolfspy and put hashtag Most Wanted Challenge on social, and we'll pick a winner next week. All right, so next up is called Sam Swipes Right. And for everybody out there that doesn't know, Sam Robinson is our head of product testing in the test facility in Yorktown for hard goods. That's drivers through putters. And he is also a hell of a talent at swiping right on all the social media apps that swipe right. And I think we've got
we
him
call
on.
them that.
What's that?
Social media. We're-
Yes.
And every week he says he's off it, but then he's back on it. But anyway, Sam is swiping right on something in regards to becoming an expert at something rather than an expert tinker. And how this came about was, according to the Seattle Times this week, former number one world amateur for 46 weeks in a row, Chris Williams, just hung it up, meaning hung up the golf spikes and retired at age 28. He's going to go back and finish college, and right now he's an intern in the athletics department. Okay, there's not many people that have held the world amateur number one ranking for more consecutive weeks than him. John Rahm tops the list, and the other guys are all pretty damn good golfers on tour. So it's kind of a shame to see, but he said after college, after he goes back and finishes, is something he always wanted to do, that he might or might not return to golf.
So why did he hang it up then?
Well, that's kind of the bigger story. So what was most interesting to me is when you read between the lines, one of the major reasons he hung it up was his confidence was completely eroded standing over the golf ball. And one of the major contributors to that was golf equipment. And what I mean by that is when he became a pro, Nike sponsored him. And we've heard this story more than once by more than one golfer. And that is that when, I am not saying they made the worst equipment, I just don't think they made very good equipment. And I think it hurt a lot of players' games, and him being one of them. And he admitted that, he lost his confidence. He couldn't get used to them. And he stood over the ball and didn't know how to execute when you needed to execute, right? So that brings us to the bigger question that Sam's swiping right on, and that is, should you become an expert at something or an expert tinker?
I mean, too often we see guys coming in the office where, we've got a certain tester, we won't name names. He comes in with a new set of irons every now and again, and he'll ask us to check the loft and lies of everything.
Every month.
He's retired. He's got plenty of money. He's just having fun, trying things out. But at the end of the day, at what point does it end? And he just decides on a piece of equipment, and he can become an expert with those tools. So we were talking about it last week, where if you go into work every day and you have a different hammer, if you're a craftsman and you have a different hammer, and you have to figure out how to use this hammer every day, you're not going to be very good at using a different hammer every day.
Well, take the guy that's had a hammer, right? I roofed when I was in the summer between high school and college, right? And there was this guy that was just better than everybody else. And he'd been up there on the roof for 30 years, And I'll never forget, he stuck all the nails in between all of his fingers, and within 3 seconds, bam, 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 all the nails are in. And I watched this guy in amazement, because that would have taken me 30 years to do, right? So imagine if 30 years, which he had the same hammer. I mean, it was not pretty. It was ugly. It was beat up. But if you were to hand him a new high-tech new hammer 30 years after he is, that thing had become a part of his body, Yeah. And if I hand him a new hammer, he's got to relearn that to some degree, you know?
That 10,000 hours to expert clock that resets.
Every time you put something new in your hand, it resets that clock, right? So, what do you think about that, Sam? I mean, you have been in the golf industry now for a few years. You've been a great golfer, college. You tinkered a little bit, tinkered a little more. And you're a tinker to some degree with your swing, with equipment. Are you thinking a little bit differently now that you've been a part of the industry and had an opportunity now to tinker more than you used to? Like, what are your thoughts in regards to that?
Yeah, I think once you're able to find the right piece of equipment for you, don't change it. There's a saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think I'm starting to find the right equipment for my game that
you're tinkering.
Well,
I would say this. I would say this about you. When it comes to equipment, you do not change your clubs until you think it's better or know it's better.
Yeah, I do. I put equipment through the paces a lot more than just changing drastically an entire set of irons.
But your swing, you change. And you change even if you shoot 62.
Well,
or whatever you shoot.
Here's the way I look at it. Like, I'm not opposed to change. Like, for example, Most Wanted, Tony and I would argue back and forth. We would change protocols for our testing, and it would frustrate our reader to some degree. But we would always say, what's that?
My bad.
We would always say, if you became smarter and got better, you implemented it, period. That's what you got to do, right? So I'm not opposed to people changing their equipment if it definitively makes you better or your swing.
Right, and don't just change it just because you can or because you think that you don't like the way it looks or something. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I played a Cobra driver when I first started working at mygolfspy, and then I tested best with a Ping, and Ping's got that. Now it's changed. They've cleaned up the crown a little bit, but when I first grabbed a Ping, it was the Dragonfly technology, and we get a lot of guys giving us subjective feedback in the testing. Oh, I just can't look at this. It's not traditional. That matte black with the webbing and that, I can't get used to it. But if it's the best performing club for you, don't worry about how it looks. Just become an expert with that club and continue to use it.
Yeah, Tony, is that something that you do?
What's that? Change equipment?
Did you not have to sign a contract to not change equipment this year?
Well, we didn't sign anything, but and I certainly
Word is bond, my man.
negotiated some favorable terms. Yeah, you know, I'm probably not as big of a tinkerer as certainly as I used to be.
Right.
I tend to mess with the driver. Like I will, without some type of rule and regulation imposed on me by my friends, I would probably play 6 different drivers.
And thank God for your friends.
But that's not even true. Like I played the Cobra LTD for 2 seasons, the G400 LST for the better part of 2 seasons. So yeah, I guess
that's
you know,
so
I move things in and out, but I'm not
Well, I think
crazy.
Sam brought up the better point.
Except shafts. I'll go through 50 shafts.
That's a big change, bigger than you think.
It is.
I think that there's a difference between changing your tools and sharpening your tools too.
Good analogy, and I think you said it right. Like if you're changing because they're better performers, I'm okay with that, right? But then even once you've done that, become an expert. But if you're changing because, oh man, this thing didn't play well this round, or I don't like the looks of that, hone your skill, hone your craft, right? And part of a craft is the tools you have, and the better. You rarely run into a talented craftsman that doesn't have the right tools,
right? And
he's not changing them all the time, you know?
Yeah, I mean Tiger Woods, look at his putter. Jordan Spieth, look at his putter. You know, the technology in metal woods and irons has improved over time. So yeah, they're probably going to put better performing equipment in their bag. But at the end of the day, I mean, you and I both know that there's not that much technology in putters. But those guys, those are the tried and true pieces of equipment that they rely on. And
yeah, if you want a great example, just look no further than this weekend. Steve Stricker just won with 13-year-old irons.
There you go.
Better, newer is not always better. And back to the point, and that is just try to put into your head or swipe right that try to become an expert at the tools that you have. You know, we have a guy that works with us, a designer, and he, Sean, he is like Tony. He tinkers all the time.
I don't tinker all the time. What the?
Yes, you do. You have an addiction. But,
once you get that stigma, you can't shake it.
But this guy has an obsession with it. You know he does. He'll call and just ask the most asinine question. I'm like, dude, you've got the best clubs. Stick with him. His wife actually made him sign a contract that many of you have
that went
seen
around on some other famous social media accounts. So.
Yeah. So he had to sign a contract with his wife that he wouldn't change clubs. And I talked to him the other day and didn't even prompt him to ask him how it's going. But he was like, thank you for saying that because I haven't changed equipment all season. It's the best my game has been, you know? So give it a shot. Change. You know, it's funny that Nike was the problem or culprit for a lot of these golfers, it seemed. And their slogan back there was embrace change, right? Which I'm cool with, but maybe we shouldn't embrace that much change.
There's that thing is, for those people that didn't know that Tiger Woods didn't play when he was winning all those majors, he didn't play Nike irons. There was a Nike logo slapped on that iron. They were hand forged.
Well, that's not universally true. I mean, they did get to the point where they were making irons for him. It's been a sore subject with some of the Nike guys.
Bigger picture here, overarching theme. If you have one bad round with your irons, don't always change. Maybe you just had a bad swing thought that day or your tempo was off. It's not always the clubs.
Yeah,
always the club. Except when it's the ball.
Except when it's the ball.
We're going to get great transition.
Yeah.
And so
skillful.
Tony just got back from Titleist. He went on a visit there, and Tony
Titleist East, Fairhaven, New Bedford, Massachusetts, the mothership, if you will.
Yeah. So what did you do out there when you were out there, Tony?
Yeah, we did a few things. We spent a few minutes on the first morning with Mary Lou Bond, who's the president of the Titleist golf ball division. That was kind of a casual conversation, but we got to talk a little bit about the evolution of Titleist and even the relationship with mygolfspy. So that was a good little chat. We took a tour of R&D, which was holy shit, mind-blowing, eye-opening, scary, horrifying. I don't know. Pick your adjective. Depressing.
Well, I mean, the word you told me is it pissed you off.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Looked at kind of some of the facilities that very few people get to see, where some of the parts that go into the golf ball making machines are created. We did the Ball Plant number 3 tour, where they make the Pro V1, Pro V1X, and AVX. Went to Manchester Lane, did a ball fitting, and went and played some golf. I have to say the guys from Titleist played golf. I sort of just whacked balls around.
What'd they fit you
It
in?
was not a
What ball
great
they
day,
fit you
but
in?
that's all right. Yeah, good time. And really, these trips are great because especially when it's very much open door and you're free to ask what you want. You just have, it's to a degree like somebody inviting you into their home and kind of showing you what they're really all about and who they are. So kind of really eye-opening. A lot of the stuff we kind of expected to see, but when you actually see it, like I said, some of it is pretty scary.
So what'd you see?
Yeah, we saw a lot of golf balls that had been cut open. I don't know how specific I'm allowed to be, so I'm going to talk in general terms. We've got some plans for how we're going to bring some of this to light in really specific terms and see what's what. But just a couple of examples. There's a wall where they have it's got to be close to a dozen golf balls, maybe more. Different names on the packages, different logos, different price points, and they are all the same damn golf ball. So essentially, depending on which brand you associate with, right? Because that's what you're doing. You're like, hey, I guess this brand resonates with me, so I'm gonna buy this ball that was white.
So wait a sec. When you say there's a wall there with 12 balls cut open and they're all the same, these are balls that are different companies.
The only thing that's different
is
is the box and the logo. Same cover, same dimple pattern, same number layer, same materials, same damn golf ball, different box, different price, depending on which one you pick out. And that's just what's on the wall. There are other cases where, some of these are sort of almost obsolete. You can probably pick them up here and there, but there are balls being made today, and I don't think this is any huge secret, where you're essentially deciding that, hey, I like the logo on this particular factory ball, and so, that's the one I'm going to buy. And there are situations where, I think it's like, hey, if you really like this ball, you should figure out what it is and see if anybody else is selling it for the exact same ball for a better price.
I don't think it's common knowledge. I mean, at all. I don't think the average golfer goes around cutting open balls and going, "Oh, I knew that these balls were the same," or that I even knew in general terms that this golf ball and that golf ball might even be the same. I don't even think golfers have a clue about that. I mean,
I'm sitting here shook right now.
All right, so I'll give you a couple more examples of just scary as hell stuff. So Titleist has some obviously capabilities that not everybody has and can do things that are hard. And like I tried some things. I'm down to one Band-Aid, but I spent the weekend peeling golf balls, and I literally stabbed myself 3 times, pretty severely in a couple of cases. But they're actually, so they peel golf balls down to the core. And so there's this one box. It was hopefully it's not a popular brand. It's one of those you find in a big box store. And they started cutting them, and then first one, core was X, opened up another ball, different core, opened up another ball, different core. And when I say different, I'm talking different colors, different materials, different sizes, different diameters,
all in the same box,
layers
right?
in the ball. So this box had everything from a 2-piece, just a almost range ball quality type thing, all the way up to one of a core that appeared to be from a TaylorMade TP5.
all right, so hold on, back up.
Shit.
So this is a box that if a golfer went into a store and bought this box of balls, he would have thought that all those balls were the same, not only brand, but the same model of golf ball, correct?
Right.
And how many
7 or 8 different, I mean, it's crazy. It looked like a random sampling of cores.
So out of the dozen, there were actually 8 different balls.
7 or 8. I can't remember if it was a 12-pack or a 15-pack, but out of it,
Probably a
there was
15-pack.
Yeah, there were at least 8 different golf balls in there. And when I say different, I mean, like I said, everything from a 2-piece to what had to be a 5-piece.
All right.
I mean, how deep does this rabbit hole go within the book? We've only scratched the surface, and it changed a lot of stuff within
We're
the
going to
industry.
start a new series coming up, and Tony's been working on it this weekend, and we're going to expand on it because the golf ball test that we did, I think, was one of the most impactful things we've ever done.
Yeah, I agree.
And because it opened up, the Kirkland golf ball test was a domino that allowed people to look at, alternative golf balls, right? Which I think is good. But a lot of those alternatives we're finding out aren't great alternatives. And the golf ball test we had shined a light, not a microscope, but a light, broad spectrum light on a lot of those issues. And there's people out there thinking we're crazy and that couldn't possibly happen. Just trust us. You're going to see a lot worse than that. And Tony's coming up with a series called Find It, Cut It. And I love this concept because Tony is going to literally randomly find balls on the golf course or in a store and cut them open.
Mostly on the golf course. I think it's important that we look at golf balls that people paid money for. Like we can say, hey, this is out here. Somebody bought this ball, and here's what they actually got for their money.
And Tony is we built this thing to where you can see not only how off-center cores can be, which can cause erratic ball flights, which every golfer I've told this to, the first question they ask, whether they're a scratch golfer or a 30 handicap, goes, so wait a sec, like, could that be the reason why my ball is going left or right? And the answer is, it could be one of the reasons, and that's shocking to golfers.
I think this is kind of one of those things where, in talking to the Titleist guys, we were able to validate a lot of what we saw in the test, or explain, right? So, one of the things we saw that, especially at high speed, right? And we want to be clear about that. Speed, whatever the problem is, speed amplifies it. So, we saw balls that went 20, 30, 40 yards offline. And I'm talking not with roll. I'm saying landed up to 40 yards offline. And you're like, hit with a robot. That can't happen, right? Because this is a golf ball that's perfectly round. And if one does it, they should all do it. And they're all the same. And that's just not the case. And so, at Titleist, they gave us a couple demonstrations. One of them was a ball with, I guess what you would call mismatched dimple patterns. And this is something that can sometimes happen at the factory where the top of the mold is mismatched with the bottom of the mold. So half the ball has a different dimple pattern from the other. And when you hit it, that ball, you'll see the ball go wildly offline in one direction or the other. But there won't be anything necessarily on the launch monitor that's obvious. So you won't see a change in ball speed or spin axis. What we saw in our ball test were balls that would go, again, up to 40 yards offline, and there would be a corresponding shift in the spin axis. So we'd see something like a minus 10-degree tilt. And that happens when you have off-centering of the layers. So, the weighting, right? A golf ball needs to be weighted evenly on its equator. And when it's not, it spins off axis. And, just like it's essentially kind of the same thing as a side hill lie, where the ball immediately just tilts, right? It's airplane wings. So on impact, it's going to tilt to the heavy side. Think of floating it in Epsom salts as another example, right? Where you see the heavy side go down. Same principle when you hit a ball that has uneven layers, tilts down, and with that corresponding spin axis tilt, you get a ball that
exactly.
flies
That's one of the things that I'm going to be doing is when I've got USAM qualifying next Tuesday, and I'm going to be whatever ball I'm playing. I'm going to be putting them in Epsom salts and making sure that is one variable I can eliminate. So
Bryson DeChambeau Jr. over here.
So
that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Is it brand, like, does it matter the size of the brand? Like, are these only like bad, big box retailer brands that we're seeing, or is this any, not
certainly
any company?
There is. I want to say, let me choose my words carefully for now. Certainly, there are some evidence that some brands are better than others, and some of the balls I've cut open recently, there are, in some cases, you do need kind of the template we built to see some of it. In other cases, you're like, holy shit, how did that get out of the factory?
Can't say anything about.
And here's the thing, like, look, Titleist has its story, right? Titleist says, hey, we have the highest quality in the ball industry, and we're going to cut open Titleist balls too. We're going to look at everything. Titleist philosophy is that it is not possible to inspect quality into your product, right? Quality has to be part of every process, every step along the way. You can't just get to the end and hope that you can pull out the bad ones.
And let me just put that in perspective, bringing it smaller scale, right? If you don't have control of the process, which most of these
step of the process,
every step. But what if you don't even have the plant to make your own balls? You are not watching that process every step. So the less control you have of your process, the less control you have of the quality of your golf ball, and or quality of whatever you have.
That's reasonably true, probably for everything, right? The further you are removed from whatever it is, the less control you have over that situation. And the fact of the matter is that, there are not every golf company owns its own factories. Not every golf company controls every aspect of how a ball gets made within those factories to a degree, right? Some source a greater percentage of the materials, that sort of thing, versus kind of mixing the formulations on site. So there's just tremendous variety in the ball market in terms of what the brands actually control. And we haven't proven that yet. Certainly we saw some things in our testing where we're like, that's not good. But like I said, find it, cut it. We're going to do a lot more at taking a look at what's inside the golf balls that people are buying. And I'm going to do it now, and we're going to do it with every episode. We're going to encourage guys to do the same thing. Cut the balls open. I mean, a PVC cutter from Home Depot is $15, and it's alarming how much of what is sometimes wrong with a golf ball is visible to the naked eye. So, if you can clearly see a core is off center, or you can clearly see that a cover is thicker on one side than the other, those are going to have performance implications. There's no doubt about that. So,
well, that's what I was going to say. So Tony's going to start a series called Find It, Cut It. And I think it's going to be eye-opening to all golfers, for one. But I think we're going to build a list of the things we find and how each one of those things can potentially affect your performance. And as you can see, Tony has cut open a plethora of balls already, and he's going to cut open a ton more to educate consumers on what's going on inside the golf ball and how it affects your game. And we already know a list. The list is already being built, right? And the list will continue to be built. I would say this, Tony, like, what are the most alarming things that you've seen either at Titleist or by cutting open balls yourself so far?
Well, certainly at Titleist, anytime you have a box of balls that has eight different models with the same logo, that's going to be the scariest thing I think you're ever going to see. Because, I mean, we talked about this before, right? Earlier in the segment, we talked about, hey, maybe don't swap your equipment all the time. The same thing goes for the golf ball, right? That golf ball needs to be the same. Imagine whether it's because you're changing balls or you're playing a ball model that's inconsistent. If I said, hey, you have whatever your distance is, say 160, and that's a 7-iron for you, but on every shot or 4 times around, I made you change your 7-iron. I mean, how are you going to get consistent results with that, right? Your lofts are going to be different. Everything's going to be...
It's just an added variable that's not needed, right? Find a consistent variable, a good ball that's quality ball, and stick... it was one of our biggest takeaways from the golf ball test. We don't care what ball you necessarily play. I mean, I kind of do. But more importantly, play the same ball every hole, every shot, every putt.
And make sure the manufacturer that's creating your ball is putting the same ball in the box.
Yeah, exactly. Find a ball that the manufacturer can make consistently. Same ball over and over again with the cores in the middle. So you asked what I've seen. I've got balls here where the cores are visibly off center. You're like, holy shit, how did that get out of the factory? How are you?
And you've got ones with swirls on the cores.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Right. Yeah. So you look at the cores and it's all swirly.
What does that mean?
And that would be fine, right? If that was the design of the ball, but you look at 3 more of the same model, and not only is every core formulation a slightly different color, which meaning there's something inconsistent in the recipe, but when you see swirls in your core like that, it means they didn't mix it properly. So
and if you see rubber tires or steel belts
that was one from Titleist.
That's what I was gonna say.
Again, this is one where you have several brands logos being put on a ball, and the ball, I mean, these are cheap balls. These are balls that hopefully anybody watching this knows not to buy anyway. But so essentially the insides, the cores are made, it's a two-piece ball. Cores are made from recycled tire rubber. And in some cases, the Titleist guys told us they actually found portions of like the steel belt from the tire.
Okay.
So
Just
still
think about
in the
that.
ball.
Think about that for a second. When you wear
What
your
is
tread
going
down.
on?
Yeah, exactly.
What is going on with the what?
Yeah, so I
just
mean,
can't get
I don't
over
know
it.
if I've got I don't know if I've got steel belts in this one, but this is kind of what we're dealing with.
So those like white dots could be steel belt
Yeah, I mean,
things.
and again, some of these you see this
Could be
kind of
anything.
this
Could be ice
this
cream.
pattern quite a bit. I don't know.
Tell that to
Let me just
Chris.
I
grab
can't-
one more. This one's kind of interesting. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not from this type of angle we're dealing with. But here's a ball from
we
an
can see that a
exceptionally
little bit.
popular model, which is wildly off center. So
Wait, that's
Yeah.
not the one that we covered.
Well, listen, bigger picture, spoiler alert.
It's just so bad.
Golf balls on the inside aren't what you think. We're going to, find them, cut them open, and tell you what we found and also how it affects your game. And I'm really looking forward to this because
Seriously.
This could be bigger than the golf ball test.
I think
will be.
I'm excited about it. I think it's one of my few good ideas. But at the same time, I'm absolutely horrified about what I might find. And I want to be clear, like we're going to cut it all open. Like I said, we've talked about, we think there are brands that have quality control issues. Titleist says that they make the tightest quality, consistent ball. We're going to cut theirs open. We're going to see what we find. Just about anything. If we find something weird, we'll cut that open too. But mostly we want to concentrate on newer models from top manufacturers or popular direct-to-consumer brands. Who knows? Maybe we'll find two that are exactly the same with a different logo. Like I said, it's going to be really, really interesting. So
Tony
just some
doesn't-
points to reiterate. Play the same ball. Play a quality ball. And if you get the opportunity, get fit for a golf ball.
Wait, before we...
Which, I did as well while I was at Titleist. And
Yeah, what do they fit you
really
with?
Interesting. What's that?
What they fit you with?
This is textbook Tony, for sure. Like this is everywhere I go, this kind of thing happens. So I've
I know
talked
what's coming.
So I'm a high spin player to begin with, a dynamic loft machine,
Can
mostly
already see
because
where
I
this is
probably
going.
have shit wrist conditions. Like I know what it is. Their first recommendation was maybe go get a lesson, which is not a bad idea. So.
Did you tell him you already went to the Martin Chuck School of Golf and it didn't fix
Yeah,
you?
and I did improve. I just need to improve more. I need
So
to be
they
Martin
so
Chuck
all right.
here.
So
Wait, they couldn't fit you for a
they
ball?
couldn't fit you up.
So
They couldn't
we
fit you.
talked about this. So I was
way.
definitely too high spin for the Pro V1X. Pro V1, they said I might want to look at AVX, but again, field does matter to a degree, right? As much as we like to say that it shouldn't.
They couldn't fit you for a ball.
So for me, AVX
They
is
fit him
like
into
putting
a
mashed
pinnacle.
potatoes. So what they actually fit me into is a left dash Pro V1X, which is one of a handful of tour models that they offer to the guys. It's sort of best described as a lower spinning Pro V1X. So it's a little firmer, a little faster, but
Did they give you
Pro
any of
V-
these?
They sent me home with about a dozen and said, hey, try them on the course. And that's the other thing too. So part of essentially what Titleist gives you is a recommendation. They don't say, hey, play this ball. This is absolutely it. No questions asked. Don't look at anything else. Just play this blindly. They say, hey, based on the numbers that we see, combination of half wedge shots, 7-iron shots, and driver performance, we think this is going to be the ball that's best for you now. Now, typically they only fit for AVX, Pro V1, and Pro V1X because the position, and this is another point I think that's really interesting to make, is that unless your primary concern is money, if you're performance focused, unless you're literally trying to pinch every penny and you don't care about the performance of your golf ball, you shouldn't be playing a two-piece golf ball.
It's a great point.
If you care, if you're serious about performance, 3-4-piece, whatever, you're a thing ball. So
all right, two quick things
Pro
before
V1X, Pro V1, and AVX, and I ended up in a tour model Pro V1 left dash, Pro V1X, left dash, which they say is probably a fit for about 5% of golfers. So
All right,
definitely special.
Before we move on, a couple things.
special is a good word. That's a nice word.
Couple quick things before we move on. If you haven't seen the golf ball test we did, I encourage you to go on there and check it out. It's at the very top banner of the website. You can find the golf ball results. And 2, Tony brought up a good point. So we tested tour model golf balls. And we've gotten a lot of questions on, hey, can you guys do, a non-tour model ball test? And the reason we selected a tour model ball test is because everyone that we consulted with that are golf ball experts before we ran the test said, basically, if you care about performance, don't buy a cheap golf ball because there is no performance benefits. So no need to really test them.
Let me interject something real quick, Adam. So the other sort of reason that gets pushed for playing a two-piece ball, or I guess what you would call a closer to premium two-piece ball, is the idea of shot shapes correction, right? These balls spin less off the driver, and so you're more likely to find the fairway. The Titleist position, and to a large degree, it does bear out in the numbers. If you look at kind of a premium tour ball and a two-piece ball designed for shot shape correction through reduced spin, the spin reduction is not super significant. It's just a 200-300 RPM off the driver, and what you give up off irons and around the green. The argument is, look, that tiny bit of improvement you get off the driver isn't worth what you lose around the green and on approach shots where you're going to hit the overwhelming majority of your shots. And, a guy like me, especially, Dean Snell's talked about this as well. Your average golfer who misses greens with greater regularity than he hits them, to get the performance off wedges and irons is far, far more important to get the spin where you need it than to sort of give it up to correct the shot.
Probably
by a small degree.
more impactful for the average golfer too is they buy them for a price point. And now there really is no reason to do that anymore because there are tour quality golf balls being sold for the price that these affordable two-piece golf balls were being sold for. So there's really no reason that I can see to test them or recommend them to any golfer except for maybe some very small instances or percentages, right? So why?
And anecdotally, when me anyway, the stuff that I've cut open, especially if you're really trying to pinch pennies, like the two-piece balls, that's where I really see sort of that uneven cover stuff. So
if you're trying to pinch that many pennies, I would advise to just go buy the balls that are recycled at the store that are high quality tour quality golf balls that are cheaper.
So you could go buy a Kirkland dozen for $1 a ball.
Used versus recycled. That's what I'd say. I'd say you're better off with a used ball than a recycled refinish.
That's true.
Because when you start, this is something we talked about as well. When you start spraying or refinishing, adding paint, that's a way to create unevenness in your dimple depths. And
that's a good point. So buyer beware with the recycled balls. I forgot about that. A lot of them are resprayed and repainted, which as Tony just told you, by cutting open balls, just a little bit of more weight on one side of a ball can totally impact it, how it flies in the air. So Tony, for golfers out there right now, what can they do minus going out there buying balls and chopping money up, basically? What do you recommend, the check and go or the Epsom salt, where they can check these on their own, correct?
Yeah, you can get a Check Go Pro, or just the old method of floating a ball in Epsom salt. And, basically what that finds is identifies the heavy side of a golf ball. And so if with Epsom salt, it's particularly revealing, right? So the more sort of out of balance the ball is, the faster it will return to the same spot, where if it's relatively well balanced, you get kind of
it keeps spinning pretty much.
Versus, so Epsom salts work. Check Go Pro if you want to draw a line on it. That can help as well. I've done that for years. But, I mean, at the end of the day, shouldn't come to that, right? Because you're paying.
Shouldn't have to.
If you're paying for a good ball, you're paying $3, $4, in some cases, more than $4.
All right, give me the three top ball. Give me the three type brands, and you think, in your opinion, of quality control.
Based on testing, based on what I've been told, based on what I've heard from multiple sources in the industry, look, Titleist, Srixon, Bridgestone. That's honestly, at this point, knowing what I know, having seen what I've seen,
and
you'd be hard pressed to convince me to. Because again, you're going to get similar performance from other brands. Although
once, right? Maybe not the next time. So this is
it becomes not only, hey, does this ball have the performance specification that I'm looking for, but hey, are all the ones in this box the same?
Well, let me just ask you a question. If you want to hit it 175 yards, and you know that your iron hits it 175, and one time that goes 165, and it had nothing to do with your swing, that's not
Or 10
something,
yards offline.
that's
whatever,
not something
right?
you would want in your game, right? That added variable.
Yeah.
So play a ball that's consistent, that goes consistent distances, consistent ball flights, or else you're just adding an unneeded variable
Yeah.
to a game that's already hard as shit, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the secret to golf to some degree, right? Is eliminating all the variables that you possibly can. So
Bingo.
start by playing the same ball every time, because the ball can be a huge variable.
Sounds like common
And then-
sense, right?
And then pick a brand and model that is consistent too, so you don't have multiple variables within the same box.
All right, before we move on, last thing I want to say, don't buy golf balls with recycled tires in the middle. They're going to hurt your game. All right, now we're going on to GPS testing. And Harry Nodwell is the director of soft good testing at mygolfspy, and he will be testing GPSs next. And what do you got for him, Harry?
I got a good deep tip for you.
Okay.
It's if you're lost in life, you can find yourself with a GPS.
It's Harry's deep tips, folks.
Basically, what I mean is there's GPS. I predict that they will go out of fashion in the future, in a long way in the future, purely because if you think of GPS, they're kind of everyone's using the same satellite, and I found that in testing. Every GPS out there pretty much is within 1 or 2 yards of each other, so it's not that much of a variable compared to rangefinders. But what I'm seeing, the different.
What makes one better than the other?
So
Features.
it's pretty much features and graphics.
Yeah, I mean, if one just tells you the distance, right, but one shows you the fairway you're playing
Yeah.
and where you are, that's a help. Visuals help, right?
Yeah, and the whole reason for GPS is they're either on your watch, and for the older generation out there, they always used a watch back in the day. Before anything like a phone happened, you used to check your time. So they've still got that like motion of looking at their watch. So that's a big thing, and I think that would die off over time, and I think it would just be the rangefinders that with the GPS on the sides with the Garmin as well. I think that's going to be
more
the trend.
hybridized of both combined. But until then, you see, it was years ago when we went to the PGA show, and I don't know why we were all standing around and we just all looked at each other and we're like, man, in the next couple of years, all these devices are going to start crunching into one, right? And it started to happen from every vantage point, meaning the rangefinders started to hybridize.
Yeah.
The GPSs, which we've got a product.
Well, let me show you this one right here. We got the Garmin G80 right here. This one has a built-in launch monitor. Granted, it is not accurate anywhere near as accurate.
How much does that cost?
I think this is.
So it's got a random number generator.
No.
The ball speeds are really accurate.
So here's
Board
the thing:
speeds
we've got
are.
this. How much? $500-$600?
I think it's like $500 to $600. I can't quite.
All right.
Don't quite
So
really
let's
say.
go over. First of all, that's a hybrid, right? It's a GPS, launch monitor, a lot of other things, and Garmin is great at this. So $500-$600 includes the launch monitor. So then that puts it in the range of the Mevo,
Yeah.
the
Voice caddies.
the Voice Caddy
Yeah.
launch monitor, and a couple other ones that are in that price range. And we've tested all of them. And while I think it's an incredible idea and concept, the problem with all these devices come down to the word trust. And if I use these things and it says I'm hitting it 192 yards, but in actuality I'm hitting it 212 yards,
Yeah, it's a big difference.
It can be that far off.
Yeah.
I go out onto the course and hit it what I thought was 192 and I fly it by 20 yards. That device becomes not only useless to me, but a hindrance to my game, right? So what value do these provide? Ball speeds were pretty accurate, right?
Yeah, they
Spot
were
on.
they were
Spot
spot
on.
on every time. Now, so what I
That's
want to do.
I mean, that's probably the easiest metric for a small device to get, I would think.
Yeah,
All right.
and
Surprise.
but that was in a controlled setting inside. I'm going to be taking this out on a golf course and putting it into a real life scenario, and seeing if it is accurate with the GC quad.
For the average golfer, though, Tony, that goes, oh, cool, launch monitor for $500, tell them what the issue that these $500 units have compared to the unfortunate fact that the ones that are really accurate cost $20,000.
Yeah, so most of the smaller units, and I don't know about the Garmin, what the actual technology that powers it, but when you're dealing with the majority of the smaller launch monitor units on the market, they're Doppler radar based like TrackMan and like FlightScope, but the issue is because you have to hit a price point and a form factor.
Mm-hmm.
You have to use a smaller Doppler with less capabilities, I guess the best way to put it. So while they're pretty good at ball speed, they don't see the full flight of the ball. They don't always get the spin axis right, and that's a big one. So that you'll find out that a lot of these devices don't even give you a spin number, because that's very difficult to get with a underpowered / less expensive device. So spin numbers can be tricky, and a lot of the times too, the form factor, and this is the case with Mevo, and FlightScope is completely honest about this, right? So you have a situation where the Mevo, or rather the Doppler, has to be sort of configured to hit the window. So that's why it says, hey, tell us what club you're hitting, so that we kind of know where to look for the ball. So it knows that a 7-iron typically launches within a window, pointed here, right? And so rather than just hit it and get the data, you oftentimes have to tell it to look for the ball.
And the one thing with the Garmin G80 is you have to put it precisely a certain distance away. If you're a couple of inches towards the ball or further away, it's going to alter the
and all these things. Yeah. So in my opinion, looks cool, right?
Looks cool. If you're a guy who just wants a little bit of numbers that is not too worried about,
I think there's zero value right now in any of them. I think they look cool, but if they're giving you the wrong numbers, they're giving you the wrong numbers, and that's just like Tony said. It's as valuable as throwing up random numbers, even though they're close.
I guess.
And
if you're a ball
know
speed
the
guy.
difference.
What's that? No.
People don't know the difference.
The average golfer would think that's correct.
I got a ton of my friends. They're scratch golfers. Hey, what do you think of Voice Caddy? What do you think of this? Like, dude, like, it's just it's something, but it's not.
It's something, but really nothing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with all of these things, right? Like I said, spin is difficult to nail down with any degree of precision. And if you don't know spin, obviously, right? So when you think about your basic distance equation, it's ball speed, launch angle, and spin. So if you can't follow the full flight of the golf ball, which some of these units can't do, and you can't get an accurate spin number, and you sort of have to look at the conditions you can read and make an educated guess, that methodology doesn't always produce accurate carry distances and things like that.
So like Tony just said, if you don't get one of the numbers, you're basically making an educated guess. And I just don't want to spend $600 on an educated guess,
Right, but this is an extra.
Game.
This right here is right here is just an add-on. You can obviously use it for a GPS.
How about this? You got a ball that goes 20 different yards because of inconsistencies. Now you got something that tells you 20 more yards. You're 40 yards off.
Yeah, but you're not even. That's a separate thing. So that's when you're practicing. When you go onto a play mode, you're using the GPS.
I get that
on the side.
Yeah,
so
but
it's
if you're
not
relying
factoring
on
in.
it. If you're practicing with it and that practice leads you to believe that your 7-iron goes X, and
I see what you're going.
There's something in the way you hit a golf ball that
I see what you mean.
Makes it difficult to figure it out.
Yeah,
going on that golf course.
Correct. I agree.
And like Sam said, the average golfer that spends $600 on something assumes that those numbers are accurate. I would guess, right? They're not thinking they're wrong.
Right. Well, I mean, they just don't know. They don't have access to TrackMan and Foresight like we do. And more often than not, they don't, is what I should say. But if they don't know, I mean, you assume that you hit your 7-iron 185 usually, but when you get it on here, maybe it's different. When you get it on Foresight,
not many
different.
people assume that.
I can tell you one thing. It's a cool concept, right?
Yardage. They assume that there's a yardage. May not be 185, but it is a yardage.
I think we can all agree that the concept of a $500 launch mount sounds badass, right?
Yeah,
for
sure. Yeah.
And that's what they're playing off of to some degree, but they're not
And
accurate yet.
I think someday we'll get there.
I do too.
Just not tomorrow.
Big picture then.
Not yesterday.
As the director of Soft Goods, Harry, should I buy this?
If you want a GPS.
But Tony, what do you think the point of GPS is?
Well, I mean, certainly some people still prefer GPS to rangefinder. And looking at what I see from that Garmin, the display is really cool, really easy to read. Can give you, with a rangefinder, for example, it's not always easy to know how far you have to hit it to clear a bunker or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still some use to it, but I don't think I would necessarily, if I want a rangefinder or rather a GPS unit, I would buy the GPS unit that provides the best GPS functionality and map functionality and the feature set that I want. And maybe a launch monitor is part of that feature set, but I don't think that is a reason to buy, because again, we don't have a lot of faith in these lower cost.
All right, what are you going to choose though, Sam? Golf app GPS that costs a hell of a lot less than $500, right? Rangefinder, which can tell you the exact distance, or a GPS.
As a
As to know your the most accurate distances to what you need to choose.
yeah,
your
as
tool
someone
for.
who competes in amateur events, a rangefinder
Me too.
with slope that I can turn on and off for competition.
And that's, I mean, that's another consideration too, right? You have the competition piece. The other issue is that, or the reality, I should say, is that a lot of there are a multitude of phone GPS apps for golf that work really, really well, have really cool graphics. I mean, this is one of those things, if you're just looking for distances, you can use Arcos Caddy in some cases without the sensors. So,
I mean, here's another thing is Garmin has a rangefinder, but you can download the app and use it as a GPS. You get a flyer over every hole, and it gives you best of both worlds. So
Yeah.
it's really up to your preference.
I think they're trying to squeeze a lemon, meaning like they know that this technology is not going to be. I don't think, people are going to be using this form of GPS very much longer
I agree.
in the
I
future.
don't think so.
But they've already got the platform, and I think
why
they're
not?
trying to get everything they can out.
yeah,
of it
I
for
think
a few years.
it's sort of,
Add some features
it
to
might be
differentiate.
the compact, the CD of golf technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's, it works well, high quality, but the world is sort of evolving past it.
All right, that brings us to the last section today for No Putts Given, episode 7, and that is favorite golf product of 2019. And Tony, I'm going to start with you. What's your favorite product so far in 2019 for golfers?
Let me think about this for a second. Ventus.
That was a great
There we-
entrance. Well done.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of the Fujikura Ventus. And I'm not saying everybody should go out and buy the Ventus shaft because that would be stupid. A golf shaft needs to fit you like any other piece of equipment. I'm fortunate that a Ventus fits me well. It's fit for it at Fujikura. And while I do still spray the ball from time to time with a driver, what I do notice is that the centeredness of my impact has dramatically improved. And so while that is getting me more distance on good shots, for better or worse, it does get me sometimes too much distance on bad shots as well. But just being able to repeatedly hit the center of the driver face is something I've never been able to do before, and now I do that. So that's kind of a wild new ride.
Yeah, so the Ventus basically is crazy when you think about it, right? Like it's a shaft, but it's kind of an MOI in a shaft. It actually makes you hit the center of the driver face more, even if you wouldn't have hit the center of the face with your normal shaft and swing, right? Pretty crazy. So the Fujikura Ventus is Tony's favorite. Harry, what you got?
Inesis shoe.
Rando French golf shoe. I like it.
Well, they came to our facility, and I was like, "It's just gonna be another brand
We
that
didn't
come
even
out
want
here.
them to come. Like,
It's gonna be another one of these
I wanted
brands
them
that
to
trying to
come.
push
They're
their
nice
product."
people.
yeah, honestly, it was in my 10 years with mygolfspy. It's probably the most impressive presentation from a product and store presentation that I've ever seen. Decathlon is the store. Basically, they're the Dick's Sporting Goods of France.
Right.
For people that don't
You're
know.
all of Europe, right? Is it just
Yeah,
France,
yeah,
or is it all-
it's all Europe.
And Inesis is their golf division. It's kind of like Dick's, they've got probably other divisions of different things, kayaking or whatever, right? Like Dick's. But for golf, it's called Inesis. And
we thought that the Skechers shoe was comfortable.
Yeah,
the
dude, you put
Inesis
this
is
in
just
Inesis
as comfortable.
well, it's more comfortable than their
If
2019
not, correct.
Skechers.
and it's
and-
cheaper.
Oh, it's like 80 or $90 for a pair of shoes. And they got one. They've opened up in US now. They're in San Fran, in California, and
Yeah, Harry dropping San Fran like an American.
hey, 4th of July is coming up, dude. I'm nearly there.
Dude, what-
Do we
Hey,
have his American flag suit on order yet?
So we're getting everybody's off on Thursday and Friday for July 4th, and I think we've got an outfit coming for Harry.
Unless I wear this outfit, I
You-
cannot get it off.
Harry does not get off on the 4th and 5th unless he wears the Uncle Sam
Video
outfit.
coming soon.
I have a 4th of July golf outfit picked out, but it's not Uncle Sam. I did get a new shirt, and I got some shoes to match. So I'm
Are
feeling pretty.
they loudmouth? So Ennis's shoe.
Yes.
And why do you think that? They finished really well in our test.
They got best value, but they also finished very, very high up.
Number one in comfort, I think.
Number one in comfort. And the traction for the spikeless version is phenomenal. It's as good as a spiked shoe for traction. You're locked in for the ride.
Yeah, a lot of golfers don't know that. So like the spikeless shoe is obviously the trend, right? Mm-hmm. And you can go from directly off the course with a lot of them. Puma kind of leads that lifestyle category. But the problem with some of these spikeless shoes is traction, right?
Mm-hmm. And stability. Which goes kind of hand to hand to some degree. But Ennis has kind of knocked it out of the park with their spikeless shoe. We're very impressed.
Sam, what's your favorite product for 2019 so far?
I got to go with the Bridgestone Tour BX golf ball. After our golf ball test, saw that it did really well. I've always wanted to try Bridgestone golf balls, and tried the XS for a while, and it spun a little too much for me, and finally settled on the Tour BX. And I got to say, man, like, it's rare to find a ball that performs well in every aspect of the game, and I really like it because I get, good distance off the driver, but my big thing was control with the wedges, so I feel like I can control the trajectory really well with my wedges coming in 60, 70, 80 yards. And overall, it's just a great, damn good ball.
Yeah, I'm sure.
What do you think of the feel on that one? Because it does tend a little trend to the firm side. I've been playing the same ball all year, and I would agree with everything you said, but if you come from a Pro V1 even, or something considerably softer than that, it can be an adjustment.
Well, and for me, it's interesting because I played Srixon Z-Star XV, which is also...
So it's actually softer.
Yeah, exactly. So I prefer the feel of the Bridgestone over the Srixon.
But when you say, it takes a while to adjust, right? Like, what are you actually adjusting to if you get a little bit of a click of your ball? I mean, other than your own perceptions. I mean, the ball is still pretty much doing the same thing. It's a sound feel thing, right? It doesn't mean actual anything.
Yeah, but it does in that you translate that different sensation, that different feel sensation,
quality
that impact to what it means on the ball flight, right? Mm-hmm. So, hey, this feels firmer, whereas a perfectly struck Bridgestone BX, for example, might feel
but this is part of the problem that golfers got into, and while we're in the position we're in now, right? When golfers are focus group study, the numero uno thing they care about when it comes to golf ball is what?
Feel.
And what gives golfers, quote unquote, feel the easiest?
Soft.
Going soft. And
so,
what did we find out in our testing?
More in terms of not, hey, does it feel firm versus soft? It's playing a ball long enough, sticking with the ball long enough so you translate what you feel it impact to what you see on the golf
so
course.
it's like a well-struck
that feels
golf
like
shot.
A ball that's going to do this, whereas with a different ball that would be an entirely different feel.
And for me, the switch wasn't. It was almost instantaneous. I played 2 rounds with it, and I was like, "This is the ball I'm playing." It was the first round I played with it. I noticed right away short irons in my hand. I like to hit short irons low, and it was like every time I try to hit a short iron low, it's like. Perfect.
And you can still spin them around the greens.
Mm-hmm.
I can't spin them as much around the greens. The XV I can spin a little bit more around the greens. The XS I still struggle to spin it. It's probably the way I've delivered the club face into the shot for chip shots.
And that just goes back to Tony's point. At the end of the day, gotta get fit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And luckily for us, we have the ability to try everything out and almost fit ourselves, and we know what to look for. So for me, it was just between Pro V1, Z-Star XV, and the Bridgestone, and I eventually went with Bridgestone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quick note too for anybody who's listening and thinking about, hey, all right, I'm gonna get fit, or I'm gonna go out and do some on-course testing of the golf ball. Titleist recommendation kind of makes sense. Limit yourself to 2. Don't try and take 5 golf balls out on the golf course and sort it out. Narrow it down, get down to 2, and then kind of do some head-to-head stuff. It gets really difficult when you're out there trying to figure out differences between 3, 4, 5, 20.
Yeah, I was at Z-Star XV, and then I was messing with Titleist throughout Z-Star XV. Then I found Bridgestone, was with those 2, and then over those 2, the Bridgestone was better for me.
Well, it's been fun to watch you and Harry play, that is for sure. In person, it's great to watch good golf, and I'm sure it's not all the ball, but you guys' games are getting better and better and better, and it's just really, it's fun as hell to watch. I got to watch you guys play this weekend, and I don't know, it's just a pleasure to see golf played the way you guys play it. So that's it for episode 7 of No Putts Given. And just a couple things, like we always say, kind of BYOB, be your own brand, find what fits you best, play what fits you best, stick with it, become an expert at your tools. And, we've been getting a lot of feedback about no putts given, which I'm quite surprised about. We go places and people we've been doing this for a long time and testing, and what I hear more about anything now is this show. So we're definitely listening. If you have any advice or anything you would like us to cover, by all means, let us know. We do listen and we do implement some of the stuff that you guys tell us. And, other than that, don't forget to do the most wanted challenge and go out there and find where you're seeing it and post it on social media. And we'll pick a winner for next week's show and let you know, and win a ball marker from the U.S. Open. And other than that, that's it. And we'll see you next week. All right.